Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. We have a massive episode today going through the Champions League running, the rest of the European running and the relegation battle, because they're all heating up towards the end of the season now. We have roughly 4 to 6 games left for most teams. It varies obviously depending on what team we're talking about, but the season's getting towards its end and we're talking about who is going to finish where. You know, we've already done prediction videos, but this is like solidifying it. This is talking about points, it's talking about the specific games with you and talking about how I think the game's going to go. And we're starting with the Champions League running, where we start off with Spurs and Villa. I don't think anyone else in that Champions League running. We obviously know the top 3 is going to be Liverpool, City and Arsenal. You've already seen which way I think that's going to go. You've already seen the results, how I think the results are going to go with that. And as you can see from the results that you've seen so far, I'm doing pretty well with it. I've predicted a lot of the results correctly that I said in that video. But let's go into this one, talking about each team. We start with Spurs, and Spurs' games are Arsenal at home, Chelsea away, Liverpool away, Burnley at home, City at home and Sheffield United away. And we'll talk about each game individually. We're going to start with that Arsenal game. That Arsenal game is a big one. It's a big push for Spurs to have a say in who gets the title at the end of the season. And Spurs will not want to see that title go into Arsenal's hands, and I think they'll get a draw from it. It'll be a big draw for Spurs as well. Be a massive one for the outcome of the season. So yeah, draw in that game. And then going into the Chelsea game midweek next week, and I think they're going to lose it. I think they struggled against Chelsea at their own ground, and I think Poch has got them. He's got the number. You can ring him up and go, right, I'm taking the points off you. And it's going to aid toward their European bout, which we'll talk about soon. And Liverpool away. Liverpool, who have dropped off massively recently, and that's why I think Spurs can take points off them at Anfield and they'll get a draw. And you know, it doesn't look great, but from the opposition that they've had in that space of a week there, that's a good result for Spurs to get. And then they've got Burnley, and against Burnley, I think it's pretty obvious. I think Son's going to have a riot of a day and they're going to beat Burnley. And then on to that City game. That City game midweek, right after the Burnley game, a double game week for them there. And with the way Spurs play against City, I think they'll get a win. That's 2 wins from now. It's a lot of points on the board. And then finally, last day of the season, Sheffield United. Usually Spurs can get a bit tired towards the end of the season and usually drop points, but I do not think they'll do it against Sheffield United. And I think they'll win. 3 wins there, 11 points on the board for Spurs, which I don't think Spurs fans will be complaining about whatsoever. Obviously, it'd be disappointing not to get a result against Chelsea, but to get a result against Arsenal and Liverpool, they'll accept it. They will accept it. And then going on to Aston Villa, who also have to play Chelsea in their first game, and I think Chelsea will get a draw out of it. I think they really will. I think they'll make Villa pay a bit. I mean, it would cost them a bit. We'll wait and see though. Obviously Villa might, get the revenge for that FA Cup fixture, but I feel the way Chelsea have been playing recently, I know they had the bad result against Arsenal the other day, but it's Arsenal. They've lost 1 game in the last 9, and that was the Arsenal game. They've been pushing out results, Chelsea, and have pushed out one against Villa, and then Villa's have beat Brighton. I think Brighton have been awful this season. So yeah, Liverpool once again, I've said they fell off already. They fell off, and Aston Villa are going to take points off them at home. Nice win from there. And then Palace on the last day of the season, and I think against Palace they're going to lose, just down to the fact that Palace have been at a good turnaround under Glasner, and when Aston Villa seem like they're the favourites to win, they don't seem to win. I think that's Emery's trope, is when he's the favourite, he's not going to win it. When the odds aren't stacked up against him, he doesn't do as well as he could. So yeah, that is the results there. We've got 11 points for Spurs and 7 for Villa. You'll see how that adds up towards the end of the season in a second, because now we're talking about the European chasers. The rest of the teams chasing that 6th and 7th spot behind Spurs and Villa. And the teams that I've identified as being able to do this are Chelsea, Man United, Newcastle United and West Ham United. A lot of United there. I don't think Brighton are part of this conversation. Some might put them in the conversation because of how Brighton played. They've got the games left to do it. But I've not got them in this conversation, down to the fact that Brighton have been very inconsistent all year. And as you'll see, the results here where teams play against them, like you saw in the Villa game, Villa playing against Brighton, and they're getting beat there by Villa. I'm going to start with Chelsea anyway. Chelsea have 6 games left, the most out of any of these teams here. Chelsea six games left, How are we going to do in them 6 games? Well, we already know how we're going to do in that Villa game, and that is a draw. And I already know how we're going to do in that Spurs game. I just spoke about it. They're going to win. And then that leaves us with the 4 games remaining after that. They've got 4 points from these games, and then against West Ham, I think they'll win. I think a win is on the cards from there. The way West Ham have been playing, sometimes they just hold a bad result, and I feel like Chelsea can punish them in that game and look like they can push on for a good European place. And then against Forest, I see him drawing. I see him dropping points away there to Forest. I think Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi will torment them for a day and get a draw out of it. Maybe even snatch a win if they can, but I'm sticking to a draw for now. They're in a relegation battle for a reason. And then against Brighton have got the number. Brighton have got Chelsea's number. As I said, it's going to be a tough one all day long there for Chelsea. They always seem to get beat by Brighton, and I think Brighton will show up with a result there and beat them relatively well. And then going to the last day of the season against Bournemouth, a team that Chelsea have struggled against in the past well, I think they'll get a draw there. And that leaves Chelsea with getting 9 points in the remaining 6 games, which it's not bad looking at how Chelsea's season is, but let's see how it does for their European place. Onto the next set of fixtures, and that is Man United's fixtures, my home team fixtures, my team's fixtures. So you might see some bias here, but I've tried to be as little biased as I can. I'm going to start with that Burnley game, which obviously I do think will be a win. The way Burnley have played this season, I don't like saying United are going to win a game because I feel like I've jinxed us in a way. I don't like it, but I think we will beat Burnley. I don't have to complain too much about that. And in Crystal Palace, once I said, I get Crystal Palace are playing really well right now, and I think we're going to drop points from them. I think we'll lose to Palace. You've just seen them beat Newcastle, and that's why I think we'll lose to them too when we come against them in a week and a half's time there at Selhurst Park. It'll be a bad day for us, and we'll get beat. Palace will do the double over us, and we'll lose thanks to Eze and Elise and Mateta cooking right now on the Glasner. And then it's Arsenal at home. I think we'll get a draw against Arsenal at home. I think the occasion's going to take Arsenal by surprise, and we'll snatch a draw. We won't earn a draw, but we'll get a draw, and it will help us a lot there. We've got 4 points so far, and then coming into that game against Newcastle, I think we'll lose. I do. I think Newcastle will get the better of us. I think Newcastle have already got the better of us this season in the Carabao Cup and even in the league. I just don't see us putting in a great performance against Newcastle there, and I just see us getting played off the park really by Newcastle's energy and the fact that everyone's coming back from fitness for them as well now. They're going to be on a good form, good bit of run there. And I got us to lose that game against Brighton as well there last day of the season. Brighton have hated playing against us ever since Bruno scored that goal after the game had finished. Brighton have beat us every time, and that's why they're going to beat us again. So 4 points from our remaining 5 games, 4 points from 15 that we could get. Very optimistic, very biased of me, as I just said, but I still think that's biased. The way we've been playing recently, I'd still say that's biased. On to Newcastle's results there. Sheffield United in that first game, and we'll check out what I was going to say about Super 6. I think they're going to smash. I think they're going to destroy Sheffield United. Any bit of confidence that team has, I know they don't have a lot because they're only on 16 points, they're going to get defeated badly there. And then they got Burnley the right game after that, and that's going to be another win. And then Brighton the game after that, and Brighton are a team that Newcastle can play about with, and they're going to do it because they're going to beat them there. And then they got United, who I've already said they're going to beat us. And then Brentford, the last game of the season. Why not win? 15 points out of 15 they get there, and they've pushed on for a very good European place there. And then finally on to West Ham. 4 games left, and look how tough them games are. They're not an easy 4 games, are they? That game against Liverpool at home, I know Liverpool will be on bad form, but I still think they'll win against West Ham. Chelsea, you've already seen how I think that result's going to go, and I think Chelsea will win it. And then Luton, you'll see in a second as well, because we've got a relegation one, but I think West Ham will win that game. I think West Ham will get one last win under David Moyes before he leaves, and then City last day of the season, when City are chasing a title, you know how that game's going to go. It's going to go as a loss. 3 points West Ham from the remaining 12 possible. We'll see how that looks now, because we got how the table will look at the end of the season, and we're starting with Aston Villa getting a Champions League spot. I think most people want to see that. I think most people want to see Aston Villa in the Champions League with 73 points, just getting in there ahead of Spurs, who are obviously finishing in 5th with 71 points. Them 11 points that they got, just not enough. It was almost enough, but no, not quite there. And I do see Villa getting that Champions League spot nice and tidy. I don't think England are going to get that 5th place spot, so it is just going to be a Europa League spot there for Spurs, but it's better than nothing for a minute. And then in 6th place, as you can see, with winning 5 games in a row, obviously Newcastle are going to go into that 6th space with 65 points, only 6 points off Tottenham. It's not a bad season, it's not a bad way to end the season. It shows they're on the right trajectory, Newcastle, because they've had a bad season this season. We've had a lot of injuries and they pushed on. And in the 7th space, that final European place, that final space, get into European competition. I specifically don't want this to go in the Conference League because I feel like it's just more games and for what. But I've got us to do it. 57 points, just nipping Chelsea. We're on 56, just behind us. And you see how important that draw against Arsenal would be for us. You can see how much important the games that they'll drop points in. I said it's biased, yeah, but by a point getting into Europe, it would be a stressful end to the season. It would be a stressful last day. But by the looks of this, we'd have it wrapped up on the last day because I've got us to lose, the last 2 games of the season. So hopefully this is all wrapped up by the time we play Arsenal. So yeah, West Ham finishing at 9th space. Obviously Brighton, Wolves could still finish above them on that 51 point mark there. Obviously Brighton, Wolves not too far behind that, so West Ham not necessarily 9th, but I feel like that is the top 8. You've seen my predictions for the top 3 earlier in the season, so that is my prediction for the rest of it. Getting into European places is going to be Aston Villa in the Champions League, Spurs and Newcastle getting Europa League, and then Manchester United going into the Conference League, which, it's a new competition for us to win. Because hopefully we win it, because the competition down there isn't too great. You can probably see Aston Villa win it this year and get a European place, but they won't need it because they're going to get into the Champions League anyway. And then on to the final bit of the video, and now we're talking about the relegation zone. The relegation fighters, and obviously we know who they are. We don't have to speak about Sheffield United. They are down and out already, basically. Burnley have the slimmest of chances, so we'll talk about them. Luton, Everton and Forest are in an actual fight for survival there, and we'll see how it goes. We're going to start with Burnley though, because I said they've got a slim chance. Look how slim that chance is. You've already heard me speak about 3 of them games, because I said they're going to lose, and that only takes us to that Forest game then. And that Forest game, I think they'll draw. I think they'll get a last 1 point on the last day of the season. They might get a win because it's at home and it's like, they're going down, they want to end on a high, so they might push for a win against Forest. Obviously Forest might be fighting for relegation there. We'll have a look in a second, because we're going on to Luton. Luton have Wolves, Everton, West Ham and Fulham, and it's a nice end to the season for them. You can see them snatching a point here and there, but not against Wolves. I think Wolves will be better than them. Gary O'Neill will be better for them. And it being at the Molineux, Wolves will do him in. Cunha is back now, Hwang's back now. They're going to be cooking. And then against Everton then is a massive game there for the relegation side of it. And I feel like Luton will take the win. Luton will snatch the win, just manage to do it. Obviously Sean Dyche's experience might see out the game for him, but right now I think Luton will grab a win. It'd be more important for Luton to grab a win. Everton by that point might have survived already. They're on the highest points out of any of these 4 teams that speak right now. And then West Ham, you've already seen how the result is. That is the one game I think West Ham are going to win towards the end of the season. So sadly Luton see points dropped in it. And then Fulham a team that you thought might have had to be fighting for survival this season, but they're not. And I feel like Luton will beat them on the last day of the season, and we'll see what that does for their survival hopes. Because now we're going on to the Everton, and Everton, it looks very red right now when that's the teams they're playing. Brentford, I think they'll beat Brentford. You already know I think they'll lose to Luton, and that leaves us with the Sheffield United game, who I think they'll beat, because the Sheffield United have been awful this season. Everton have been playing really well recently as well under Dyche, and then it leaves Arsenal last day of the season. Arsenal fighting for a chance to win the Premier League. Obviously they're going to show up against Everton and they're going to win it, but you never know, there could be a massive slip up for them on the last day. We know City performed on the last day, but can Arsenal do the same? And then on to Forest with a real tricky end there. 2 massive games. You already know I want them to go in, because I already said I think they're going to draw to Chelsea, so we'll put that draw in. And then I think you already know what I'm going to say about City, and it's going to be a loss to City, and it leaves them with Sheffield United and Burnley. And Sheffield United I see as a win. I see him beating Sheffield United. Obviously I think Sheffield United are going to have a very terrible end to the season. There we go, got him beating them there. And then Burnley on last day of the season, you already know how it's going, because I spoke about it a second ago. I think they're going to draw to Burnley. and that'll leave us with the table looking like this. Sheffield United on the bottom, obviously, with 16 points. I don't think they're going to win another game this season. Burnley follow them just behind, 24 points, getting 1 point onto what they have now. I said it'd be a tough fight for survival, but I do not see them doing it whatsoever. Last time they tried surviving, they did actually beat United on the way to doing it, so maybe they're going to start the Great Escape by beating us at the weekend. Hopefully not, though. For Christ's sake. Everton, I think finishing on 16 points there. Sorry, 16th, finishing 16th with 39 points, surviving by a big distance there, and they'll be able to celebrate quite early on in that. And then the next two teams, 17 and 18, one of these teams getting relegated, and they're on 31 points and 31 points. So it's going down to goal difference on the last day of the season, and how goal difference stands right now sees Luton going down and Forest staying up. Obviously, that's because Forest, have earned more points than 31 this season. They've had the points taken off them, and it could go to the point where Forest are still arguing on the last day of the season about, but we have these points, we want our points back. I don't see them getting them back. I don't think they deserve them back. They broke the rules. They're punished for a reason. I say for arguing, take points off them more and put them down. Make sure they get relegated. Relegate them with City when them 115 charges get talked about, because I can't wait for that day to happen. But I feel like it's going to be a while anyway. But that is how I think the relegation battle is going to end. Obviously, with Forest playing City, you might see some big results that do that goal difference in, but we'll have to wait and see on how that happens. But yeah, that is the end of this video now, guys. Let me know who you think is going to get Europe, then let me know if you want Villa in the Champions League or Spurs in the Champions League, and then let me know who you think is going to get relegated and who you'd like to see stay up out of Forest and Luton. Obviously, I'd prefer Luton to stay up. I think Luton are a better story than Forest. Forest have tried buying the way for it, and that's why they've been punished for it. But yeah, that is the end of this video now, guys. Please leave a like if you've liked the video, and hopefully I will see you next time. Cheers for watching, guys, and once again, thank you for watching.